Claude is one of the most talked about AI chatbots on the planet right now, used by millions of people every single day for work, coding, writing, and everything in between. But even people who use it constantly don't know most of the facts I'm about to share. Let's start with the first one. Claude isn't just a random name someone picked out of a hat. It's named after Claude Shannon, a mathematician most people have never heard of, but whose work basically made the entire digital world possible. Back in 1948, Shannon published a paper that created an entire field called information theory. That single paper has been cited over 160,000 times by other researchers, which is an almost unheard of number in academia. Without his ideas about how information could be measured, compressed, and transmitted, we wouldn't have the internet, digital storage, or honestly, AI models like Claude itself. So when Anthropic named their AI after him, it wasn't random branding. It was a direct nod to the person whose math quietly underpins everything modern technology is built on. Here's fact number 2, and this one genuinely surprised security researchers. Claude has found real, working security vulnerabilities in major software completely on its own. In one experiment, Claude was set loose on the Firefox browser's codebase, which contains close to 6,000 C++ files. This is code that thousands of professional developers and security researchers have already picked apart for years. In just 2 weeks, Claude found 22 vulnerabilities, and 14 of those were classified as critical. The very first one took Claude only 20 minutes to discover. To put that in perspective, human researchers across the entire security industry found only 73 critical bugs in Firefox during the whole of 2025. Claude found nearly a fifth of that number in 2 weeks. And it didn't stop at just spotting the problems. It actually built 2 working exploits to prove the vulnerabilities were real in one of the most heavily tested open source projects that exists. That's the kind of result that makes cybersecurity teams start paying very close attention to AI. Fact number 3 is about the company behind Claude, not Claude itself, but it's too wild to leave out. Anthropic, the company that builds Claude, is now worth more than OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. As of May 2026, Anthropic was valued at $965 billion. OpenAI, for comparison, was valued at $852 billion. Just a couple of years ago, OpenAI was considered so far ahead that catching up seemed almost impossible. Anthropic was seen as the smaller, more cautious research lab working quietly in the background. Now it's the more valuable company. That shift didn't happen by accident. It happened because businesses and developers increasingly started choosing Claude for serious work, especially coding, and that demand translated directly into investor confidence. It's a reminder of how fast the AI industry can flip on its head. Fact number 4 is about how fast Claude has grown on phones specifically, and the numbers are honestly hard to believe. At the very start of 2026, Claude had less than 2% of the US mobile chatbot market. ChatGPT completely dominated that space, and Claude was barely a blip on the radar for regular phone users. But within just a few months, Claude's share climbed all the way up to 17%. That's not gradual growth, that's an explosion. Going from under 2% to 17% in that short window is one of the fastest market share jumps the AI industry has seen from any app on any platform. It shows that once people actually try Claude on their phone, a huge number of them stick with it instead of going back to whatever they were using before. Fact number 5 might be the most ironic one on this list. Claude is actually used inside some of its own biggest competitors. Employees at Microsoft and Google, 2 companies with their own massive AI ambitions and their own AI products, have used Claude Code, which is Anthropic's tool for coding. Even more surprising, employees at OpenAI, the company most people consider Claude's #1 rival, were using Claude Code too. That kept happening until Anthropic actually cut off OpenAI's access, saying it violated their terms of service. Think about that for a second. The engineers building ChatGPT were quietly relying on tools made by the team building Claude. In an industry that talks so much about competition and rivalry, that's a pretty telling detail about which tools engineers actually trust when it's time to get real work done. And here's the 6th and final fact, which might be the strangest one of all. Even Anthropic's own CEO isn't fully sure whether Claude is conscious. In public comments, he said, in his own words, that he genuinely doesn't know whether Claude has some kind of internal experience or awareness. This isn't some random employee speculating. This is the person running the company, openly admitting there's real uncertainty about what's actually happening inside the system they built. That's a wild thing to hear directly from someone at that level, and it says a lot about how strange and unexplored this technology still is, even to the people creating it. So out of all 6 of these, which one surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want more videos breaking down how AI actually works behind the scenes, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.